Hey, everybody. I am so excited because Chris Lema is with us today. And I met Chris, I can't even remember how long ago. It's over 10 years ago. I was working on I ran an e-commerce platform for like 12 years. And somewhere near the beginning of it, I actually was introduced to Chris and I hired Chris and he helped us with the copy for that website. And that really Chris is kind of the beginning of me moving more towards marketing and out of just raw coding. So like Chris has like been a huge mentor to me, even though he probably doesn't even know. Like I just follow him along and kind of watch all the stuff that he's doing. And he's now part of Liquid Web. He's been part of Liquid Web for almost 5 years, and he's got just incredible insight into the entire WordPress community in terms of what different businesses are doing. Like he's constantly looking at the best of the best and seeing what rises to the top, doing what he can to support everybody, to make sure everybody's got the information that they need to be able to set up the stuff that they want to do, because it's complicated. There's tons of stuff out there. And we were just talking just a second ago, like, have you ever seen those blog posts about like the 50 best, membership platforms or the 50 best themes for whatever? It's like, well, there's 50 of them. They can't all be the best. How are you supposed to figure that out? And then Chris comes along and he blogs every day and just goes, he talks everywhere. If you ever heard Chris tell a story, you'll never forget it. Whether it's a WordCamp or WooComp or anything like that, it's just really inspirational. And it's such a portable message. He has this unbelievable gift of being able to take something, break it down into something that you hear it and you can just put it in your pocket and take it with you and just remember it like even years later and stuff. And I found that to be true, even when it comes to the way that he teaches and coaches, like when he was coaching me through how to write copy about benefits rather than trying to just sell the features right off the bat and stuff like that. So I'm super excited, kind of gushing a little bit, but that's my introduction to Chris Lema. And Chris, do you want to like jump in and talk a little bit about kind of what you're up to right now and just kind of what you're seeing in the WordPress world?
Sure. So welcome everyone who's paying attention, watching, listening. It is great to be here. As we said, I have been at Liquid Web almost 5 years now, a couple months away from hitting the 5-year mark. I run product over there and particularly helped with the WordPress and WooCommerce hosting platforms that were dedicated, and we tried to create something that was different and new there. At the same time, I continue to blog over at chrislema.com, and this year have started writing daily again like I did years ago. And I continue to coach predominantly product companies, a couple agencies, but predominantly product companies, to help them navigate the same kind of complexity that Lee was just talking about, because every product company out there, as well as agencies, are trying to figure out how to message what makes them unique in the midst of 50 people who are doing what they're doing, right? Where they got 50 different themes and 50 different plugins for membership and 50 different platforms for e-commerce and 50 different page builders and you're just like, oh my God, how do I stand out in a crowd? How do I generate leads when everybody's saying the same thing? Nobody says, our brand is focused on poor quality and a complete lack of integrity. Everybody says, well, we value quality and we value integrity and we want to be your partner. And well, if everybody does, then that's no longer a message that stands out, right? So I spend a lot of time with folks working on that. So those are all the different things that are going on. I'm also the parent of 2 children who start high school this week. The youngest one is the freshman and the oldest is the senior, and they're both going to be at the same school. And so that's just craziness, because now they've spent the whole summer staying up super late and getting up super late. And now you're like, oh my God, we have to adjust the clock so everybody starts getting up early, right? So it's crazy fun over here.
We're kind of in the same boat with the adjusting of the clocks thing. It's all happening right now. I'm sure everyone's going to be grumpy.
Yeah.
At least at first, right? Well, let me ask you this. So kind of like you were saying, there's tons of different things for almost every category of functionality that you want in the WordPress community, which is cool because that gives you a lot of options to really kind of niche down on exactly what you want, which is really cool. And from my experience, most of the people that I've interacted with, almost everybody has a good heart. They're all trying to do the best stuff.
Yeah.
So what kind of criteria do you use to figure out what the best stuff really is? And like, in terms of maybe what an individual web designer might want to select for their business, or maybe what you select as like the stuff that you want to put kind of your support behind.
So I think the first thing to understand is that there is no single product, no single service that is perfect for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with that premise. You go, okay, the bottom line is there's no one answer. I'm never going to say, oh, use this, right? Even in the world where you have like, well, Google does this and AWS does this and Microsoft does this, you're going to go, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it still depends on what you want, right? So the first thing I do is I try and define who the audiences are, right?
Mm-hmm.
The segments and what makes those segments unique and interesting, what makes them different. And once you have those segments, then I can step back from those segments and define, okay, so what are the criterias that segment A and segment B and segment C, what do they care about? And you start writing those until you assemble a list and you go, okay, now I got to pare that list down to no more than 10 or 12 things because nobody wants to do well, show me the grid that has 75 features and I can decide from there, right? So I bring it down to 10 or 12 items. And then you start collecting all the candidates and filling in the grid so that you can say, if you're more like this, if you're in one of these segments, you likely care about 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And in that case, this product is likely going to be closer fit to you. If you're in this segment, you're likely to care about 1, 3, 4, and 8. And this product is going to be better fit for you, right? And I tell product builders, right, the people that are designing products, to do the exact same thing. Pick a particular segment, understand what they care about, and then build the narrative that you want to tell those people. Build it into the product itself so that you don't have to do extra marketing, right? You're not just putting, makeup over, or on top of the pig to make the pig pretty. You're like, no. Like, we designed this specifically for this kind of person, and therefore it has these features. So when I went to Liquid Web about 4.5 years ago, there were 10 managed WordPress hosts already in the market and doing well, right? So you go, okay, what in the world would we have to build to create a managed WordPress offering that is different?
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot possibly have a more competitive space with people that have money that are blaring out their messages and everybody knows the top names. And whether you're on the higher end of that, like a Pagely or a WP Engine, or you're on the lower end, like a GoDaddy or SiteGround, these are well-known names and they have existing product and the space is busy. And you go, how in the world do you build a product where you differentiate and you say, well, I'm building it for someone else?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, oh, okay, well, this is pretty easy for me. I'm building a product for people who are running e-commerce, online stores, online courses, or membership sites. And the thing that those three have in common is you can't cache the website the same way as a regular blog or a regular website. So this means we have to do something that is fast without cache, which means we have to go backwards and look at what's our setting in the web server itself for, say, PHP threads or what are called PHP workers, so that you can spin up more and more. And at the time, every host had their own caching layer, their own caching system, and most of them weren't designed for membership sites, e-commerce sites, online learning sites. So we said, okay, here's my customer, my target, and here's what they care about. And also, here are some problems. Like, every one of them have images, and no host was doing any image compression. So I know that I should automatically do image compression. I know that I should create more threads so that you can have more concurrent users without, driving a cache approach to solving concurrency and traffic. And the third thing was all these folks had plugins, right? And multiple plugins. So how do we do plugin updates automatically? And so we did this whole visual comparison and make a copy and check. Now several players do it. But this was 5 years ago. And none of those features had ever been done before. And yet, when you went out and told the story, we didn't have to do extra marketing. We didn't have to trademark things. We didn't have to come up with cute language. We just said, If this is you, you likely have tried these other places and discovered that it doesn't work. If this is you, you likely have wanted this and discovered it's not there. If this is you and performance is important and yet you don't have these images compressed, right? We take care of all this. And by the way, if you go to someplace like one of these competitors, to get 10 PHP workers running concurrently on your site will cost you $1,000. You'll get 10 sites from us that each have 10 at $99, right? And people are like, well, I got to test this to see if it's really fast without cache. And then they would come back and go, oh my gosh, like there was no time to go make coffee. My current host, I go to log in the back end, then I go get coffee, then I come back, and then I only have to wait a second or two, and then I get in. And you're like, yeah, we don't do that. So it's a particular strategy that says I start with a segment, then I understand their problems and needs. I then go solve that by creating features in the product that tell that story well. And then lastly, I tell the narrative. And the narrative is just, hey, if you're like many of our customers, you have this problem and we built this product to solve that. And you have this issue and we built that, and it's intrinsic. And at that point, you can stand out. We built the managed WordPress side, had 0 in revenue when I got here. And within I think it was about 2 years, we'd grown that with a very small team inside of a very large hosting company. We'd grown that revenue line to over $3 million, right, in recurring revenue. And people were like, you just built a $3 million rev line inside a hosting company without any piggyback product. Because if I was at GoDaddy, right, the moment they finish buying their domain name, I can say, do you want hosting? That's a piggyback product, right? Because it's an upsell, it's an add-on. It's well, I already have you here. But when you have nothing and you're like, I got to bring brand new traffic in a highly competitive space, then you have to do something different, right? You have, as you know, as we've talked about before, right? It's all about the narrative, but you can't create the narrative after the product or service. You have to build your product or service with the narrative embedded in so that you're distinguished from day one.
Oh, I love everything that you just said. And what's really interesting about what you just said is this is almost the same exact message that we do in DoubleStack, but directed more towards web design and kind of small agencies as opposed to product businesses.
Yep.
But we use this thing. So I've come up with this concept that we refer to as like solution first marketing. And so you come up with a solution first and then wrap your marketing around the outcome of that solution.
Yep.
And it's the opposite of what everyone else is doing in web design, which is solution last. Like normally in the web design world, people are very resistant to saying, I do web design for, like you were just saying. It's like they don't do the profiling part first to say like, you know, my skills and interests and everything align with this type of persona the best. And so what they end up doing is say, hey, I can build websites for anybody. And then they do the discovery session. And then they try to, you know, come up with a solution that solves the stuff that they just discovered. I mean, that's like solution last. So if that's the case, then you don't have anything other than just your raw services to market with. And kind of like what you were just saying with the web design or with the hosting, it's like nobody wants to market the services and the features, like that matrix of 100 different things or whatever.
Well, and I'll tell you, right? So the illustration I use for product folks and agencies, freelancers, micro agencies, 2-3 person shops, I'll say, I want you to stop for a second and think about your own bathroom. I don't care if it's the master bathroom or the guest bathroom or the bathroom that's right next to one of your kids' bedrooms. Think about the bathroom. And it probably has a tub and a shower, right? Most homes were built this way. And I want you to think about, you want to change it. You want to replace it with just a shower. So it's what's called a tub shower conversion, right? Now, what do you Google? Do you Google, I want a general contractor who can do just about anything in my house? Or do you Google, I want a tub shower conversion and you even add your city, right? So, you know, I now live in Houston or outside of Houston in Sugarland. I go tub shower conversion in Sugarland, Texas, right? Of course I do that. Why? Because I don't want a generalist. I don't want to go to a marketplace that says, oh, we have 50 people. They'll all call you, by the way, right? Just put in your info and we'll send you 50 generic leads. No, I don't want that. I don't want someone that says, I can do a shower. I did one once. I'm sure I could figure it out. No, I want a company that says, all we do is bathroom remodels. And if you want, and I go look and it says new tub, new shower, tub shower conversions. 3 services. That's what I'm looking for, right? Oh, and we do it in 4 cities or 5 cities, the Houston metro area. Here is your city. And we do design. We'll come out and do a free quote. We do the design, and then we can even replace it in 1 day. Oh my God. Do I want strangers in my house for 3 weeks? No. I want someone that tells me I can come in so they know that the value that I care about is the actual day of work. They can do it in 1 day. You go, yes, this is what I want. And so then I look at their gallery of photos and it's all bathtubs. It's all showers. I don't want to go where they're like, we do windows. So take a look at our living room with the window redone. And we also do second story, amendments. And you go, no, I don't want to see that. We also do backyards, right? And you're like, no. And yet, unfortunately, product companies and service companies alike try and be the general contractor instead of being the specialist, right? And the more you're the specialist, the easier it is for me to hire you because I see exactly what I need. The value prop is clear. Like there's nobody who's a general contractor who says we can do it in 1 day because you can almost do nothing in 1 day. But this, taking out a tub and dropping in the liner and everything for a shower, of course they can do it in 1 day. So you're able to deliver the custom story, the narrative and the value prop that you couldn't if you were a generalist by being specific. And so once you give them that mental framework of going, oh, okay, how would the bathroom folks do it? Then you go, okay, now I got to think about it. How does that translate for my business?
I love that. And you know what you didn't say that I think is really, just really excited about is you didn't say, try to reach more and more people. So you're actually narrowing the audience, not going broad. And you also didn't say, hire me because we have the lowest price. You said, hire us because of other reasons for the value, not the price. Like I always think price is the worst measurement of value. It's like, what about speed? Like you just said, I can do it in 1 day. Or what about results? It's like, we do this all the time. You're going to get great results. Why not leverage that?
We paid a ridiculous amount of money. We signed a contract for a ridiculous amount of money just last month. We had folks that came and changed all of our single pane. The house that we bought a year ago had all single pane windows, right? And we had 43 windows in this house. And we had a team replace all 43 windows with 43 custom-sized double pane glass with the protection that means that you don't pay for the same kind of air conditioning because you don't dissipate the internal, all that stuff, right? 43 windows. They did the job. A company called Power did the job in 2 days.
Wow.
And that was the deal breaker for me, right? Like, because when we first moved in, right, we had all sorts of construction on this house. We painted, we did floors, we did everything. And there were strangers in our house for 30 days. And I hated all 30 days, right? Because nobody likes strangers. So when the people come for the windows and they're like, we can do all your windows, and they go measure them and they count them all, and they're like, okay, it's 43 windows. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. He goes, yeah, this is gonna be an expensive job, but we can get it done in 2 days. And I went, 2 days? He goes, yeah, we'll have a crew out here. So they drove up 5 trucks, right? All sorts of people came out and they were all ready, and they just, broke glass over here and then replaced it, and broke glass over there and replaced it, and took things out from here and there. And in 2 days, everything was done, and it was crystal clean everywhere. There was nothing left. I didn't have to, take stuff to the dump. Everything was done for us. And you go, yeah, I'll pay a pretty penny if you can do all of this quickly and not turn it into. And by the way, there's some people out there who are like, oh God, no. Like, I want to do 1 room at a time over the next 3 years because I'm not in a rush, which they could do too, right? Different audiences have different desires, and you can speak to that. But price was not the biggest deal for me. What counted the most was how limited I would have people in my house doing work, because it's disruptive and I work out of the house, and I didn't want that to completely destroy my ability to work.
But it seems like most web designers have the exact opposite mindset. They want to go with the lowest price and the most hours. like, because a lot of times people charge by the hour. It's like, well, if I can't charge enough hours, then I won't make nearly as much money. And so it seems like with that mindset, your incentives are misaligned with what your clients' incentives are.
That's right.
Especially in the situation that you were just talking about with the windows, but it seems like it applies to the business too. It's like, if I can get an awesome website that's going to get me some results coming in within a week, that's a lot better than a month, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you say to people? And this is something that comes up all the time. It's like, well, there's two things that come up that cause people not to want to focus on a particular market, it seems. One thing is, well, if I'm throwing a smaller net, I'm not going to catch as many fish, that kind of analogy. And the other thing is, I don't want to be bored just doing one thing. What do you think about either of those two ideas?
So I think the truth is you are casting a smaller net when you're talking about the number of fish. But it also means you are casting you're casting with a better bait so that you might get bigger of a specific kind of fish. Now, I don't know anything about fishing, right? My dad took us fishing when we were kids once and only once. my dad, I mean, he was part of the Navy. He was on the water. I just assumed, and every other kid in my class went fishing with their dad. So I just assumed dads know how to fish. So I said to my dad, pestered him and said, Dad, take me and my brother, who's a year younger than me, take us fishing. And one day he goes, okay, we're going to go fishing. So we rent this house out on the beach, just a block away from the pier. It comes with fishing rods in the guest room closet, right? And so it's like it's a fishing vacation for a whole week. That's what we're gonna do. And you're like, this is awesome. So we go get the rods. We walk. It's a block. We walk to the pier, and on the pier is a bait shop, right? And my dad, commanding, right, as always, is like, we'll take one of those, one of those, one of those, one of those. The guy looks at him a little strange, but it's like, great. And he sells it to us, and we take it and we go out on this pier. And those piers that they're super long, and they have people like every 20 or 30 feet. And they're older guys who are out there. They got the 5-gallon tub sitting next to them, the paint tub. And they're got 1, 2, 3 rods, and they're just out there casting line. And then they just pull up a fish and drop it in the bucket and pull up a fish and drop. So that's the scene, right? It's 7 a.m. It's early morning. The fog is just lifting, and everybody's already on this pier. They've been out there for an hour. We are walking up, and we set our spot up maybe 20 yards from or 15 yards from an older guy who's doing his work, right? And we set up stuff and we cast line. Whole hour, nothing happens. And the whole time, the guy next to us is just pulling out a fish, pulling out another fish. And, me and my brother are looking over at that guy, and then we're looking at my dad and looking at that guy. I'm like, Dad, how come at one point we thought we had something, it's just seaweed, right? We're pulling it all up. It's nothing, right? So finally, after 2 hours of this, with not a single fish caught, we say very loudly, hey, Dad, why don't you ask this guy for some help, right? Because the dude knows what he's doing, and we suck. And the guy just nicely walks over and goes, oh, okay, let's see what you're doing. What's your bait? And he pulls it up and he looks at it. Super strange. It's clear that we're using the wrong bait. Like, it's just his look, like, look at the guy at the bait shop. So he takes it off and he sticks a different worm on and whatever, and we cast. And I'm telling you, minutes. Like so fast, it's insane. Less than 180 seconds, we have a tug. And we pull it up and we have a fish. And then my dad's like, all right, time to go. We caught a fish. Let's go have lunch. And we did not fish the rest of the week. Like, it was clear my dad was not a fisherman, and we didn't know anything about fish. And this was going to be a really boring week. The fish you catch has everything to do with the bait you use. So when you narrow the focus, yes, you say, we do bathrooms. We do bathroom remodeling. And you're going to get a lot of people that are, I just want to change this, or I just want to adjust this. And so you're going to get less people than the people who are looking for whole home remodeling. You're going to get less people by quantity of fish. But you're going to get someone who comes in and says, I'd like to do a full bathroom remodel for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And that's bigger than all the other people that were, coming in and doing one little thing or another little thing, because you had the right bait. And so, yes, someone says, but I'm going to be getting less people. You go, yes, but you're going to be getting, you're going to get some that are inexpensive, and that's fine, but you're also going to get some very expensive leads that you wouldn't have gotten by just being a general contractor. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that people say, oh, I get bored. The only reason you're getting bored is because you actually haven't specialized yet. So you think of the problem space as pretty shallow, right? If I were to, I know nothing about bathroom remodeling. I literally know nothing. So if someone said, what's the work that goes into, putting in a shower? I go, I don't know. You gotta take the tub out. So there's probably some sort of like yanking it apart, destruction. And then you got to drop in, I don't know, I think they're liners. So you just put some glue on the wall, you drop it in, and put some glass on the front, and you're done, right? And anyone who's serious about bathroom remodeling will just laugh at you. You go, wait, hold on a second. You realize that if you replace a tub with a shower, the flow rate of the tub is different than the flow rate of the shower. So the drainage and the pipes and the size of the pipes are different under the tub than it is under the shower. So if you want to take a tub out and take your other shower that was a telephone booth and turn it into a walk-in shower, you're going to actually have to change the drainage so that you get the right flow so that you don't have water pooling up in your shower. And you go, what? And you go, on top of that, you're going to put a bench in that shower because it's big. And you go, yeah, absolutely. He goes, you can't make it flat. What do you mean you can't make it flat? You got to make it flat or else the seat's going to be boring. He goes, no, you can't make it flat. It's not just city and county codes, it's state codes. And actually, it's just good business because if your bench is flat, water pools. So you have to have it at a slow incline and it has to move 10 degrees every 12 inches or something so that you can actually get the water to come off. And you're like, how in the world do you know that? Because I'm an expert. I'm a professional. The depth of the issue is not shallow. The depth of the issue is deep. And the more I become an expert in every nuance, the better off I am to close those larger deals. Because the person who's saying, I want a bathroom remodel doesn't know any of those things. And I go, oh, by the way, right? When we had the all the windows replaced here, we were like, hey, do we have to go back to the neighborhood, the homeowners? Do we have to go to the city? What licensing, what paperwork, what agreements? He goes, no, we take care of all that for you. You go, what? Oh, yeah. In fact, we won't put anything in your house that your homeowners won't immediately approve because we will do the process in advance. But also, we have all the regulatory compliance. We take care of it all so that you don't have to worry about a thing. And you're like, oh, my God. Right? Like you just removed a whole burden from my life. You go, yeah, because we know. We know what neighborhoods, we know what city and county ordinances, we take care of everything. So the depth of expertise is there. It's always been there. It's just that when you say all I do is wedding sites and you don't know much about weddings, you think, I'm going to get bored. And when people start digging in, you realize, I had no idea how much depth there was here. And you go, right. And that's what people pay you for, is because you're the expert when they don't have to be.
Yeah, that's where the value is. That's 100%. Well, I guess 99% where the value is. It's like that depth of knowledge. And it can be any field. It's like, what if you want to sell CBD products?
Yeah.
It's like, you got to know how to do that. You got to get a special payment processor and stuff like that. Or what if you want to like help a chiropractor or somebody in like health and wellness without making claims and getting yourself banned from Facebook and everything? So you got to know how to do that.
There's a woman who used to do coaching and had a membership site in California, and it was, she would teach you what food to buy and what workout to do for who you are and who your family was, and she'd give you all this advice. Right? She's not a licensed nutritionist. She's not a licensed therapist, but she had her audience and she had this website and it was a membership site. You paid monthly and then you got into seeing her videos and her content and all her advice and her recipes and her shopping lists, all this stuff, right? And she moved to Florida. Unbeknownst to her, Florida has legal, regulatory compliance requirements when you charge people and give them advice. Her membership site qualifies for this problem. She didn't know it. And an FBI agent paid to get into her membership club to validate that she was doing what she needs a license for in Florida, that she didn't need a license for in California. And she not only had to close up shop, she was being charged with having to remunerate all those clients that had paid her on a monthly basis.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, oh, you go, yeah. So I'm an expert in membership sites. I'm an expert in e-commerce. I'm an expert in these spaces. One of the things I know is where you can do what and where you can't do what, and what you have to be able to do what you want to do, and which products work for the kinds of regulatory compliance you have to handle. And when other people are like, I can just drop in that plugin on your website and just be done, you go, yeah, you can. Then you might also have these other problems. I'm expensive because I'm going to protect you from those problems. There's a difference, right? But experts know their space, right? And non-experts don't. They think, oh, I'll just drop in a plugin and spin up some hosting and you'll be fine. And you go, no, that's not how you differentiate.
Yeah. I think that experts know their space. That what you just said is that's really where the value is. And I think that there's this big disconnect right now, more so than ever before, where there's clients out there, if they think they're getting a website, there's really very, very little value in the website itself. So much so that they might even think, I'll just build my own. I'll go to Wix or whatever. And just, they've got a ton of templates. They all look nice. I don't have to pay for maintenance and plugin updates. I'll just do it. And then they get it. Or maybe they don't want to do it themselves, so they go to Upwork and get a $500 site or something. But those are the people that don't know their space. Even the business owners themselves don't know the space of online marketing for their own business. They know how to do their service to their clients, but not when it comes to the marketing side. Yep. And then when you go to experts know their space, that's really where the value is. And we shoot towards landing clients that are $10,000 a year or more. In fact, I don't know if you saw this, but I mail people this trophy. This is the DoubleStack 5-figure family trophy. And nice. When you land a $10,000 client, I mail this to you. You're on the website and we do an interview and everything is awesome because experts know their space, and people that are experts get paid because they're driving much better value to their clients that goes so far beyond just the website. It's the results. It's the security that comes behind it. It's not getting sued. It's like all of the stuff that you were just talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. My product managers at Liquid Web and Nexus, the brand we use for our managed apps hosting, my product managers were required on a every other month basis to fill out a spreadsheet of all our competitors every other month. And that spreadsheet is 20, 30 competitors and probably has 40 or 50 rows of data. And they have to go out and understand who the competition, not because I care about the competition. I don't, right? But I have to know what is being said in the market. I have to know what message my customers are already hearing. I have to know where the prices are shifting or changing. And so one of the first things that happens if I'm working with a product or agency owner and I go, okay, tell me about your competition. And they're like, we don't have any competition. Like, you're a moron. Of course you have competition. Even if your competition is Excel, even if your competition is my nephew, you have competition because there are always alternatives. And the job you have to do is understand, for those segments that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, what are they hearing, right? What message are they hearing? And what does that mean for that customer? When I go to talk to somebody, it's not in a vacuum. They have gone and talked to so many other people, and they've talked to other. I just talked to a prospect for a coaching client the other day. He runs a product in the WordPress space, and he says, I've talked to this coach and I've talked to this coach. And I said, oh, yeah. Those are great guys. Honestly, they're great guys. They are really good at helping you with your marketing. And so if you want marketing help, that's fantastic. That's not the paradigm I work from. He goes, well, what's different? I start at this other place with the product, and I start with an understanding of how you do product right so that your marketing is better, and so that your team building it is better and faster, and so that you're able to build integrations with other products better. And that allows you to, and I start walking this through, and they go, oh, yeah, this is completely different. And I go, it is. It's also why it's more expensive. So if you want to just do that, by all means, go over there. It's cheaper. It's easier. Do it. If not, circle back, and no pressure, right? It's almost, honestly, it's almost the anti-sale every time I talk to someone. I'm not pitching you. I don't need to pitch you. Eventually you will try. And I've had customers who go work with some other folks, and then they come back and they go, yeah, even those tactics aren't tactics I want to use. And I go, that's fair. I don't work that way. So we're not going to do this or that, or we're not going to have one trick pony, right? Which is what happens. You go a lot of inexpensive coaching, and they go, oh, well, this is what you need to do for your product. Everyone, it's just free trial. and freemium. And that's how you sell your product. Or the next guy goes, no, you just need case studies, case studies, case studies. That's going to sell your product, right? And you're like, the marketing strategy that's best for you is going to be what makes you do it regularly. If you feel like it's cheesy, you're not going to do it. If you're not going to do it, then it doesn't hold any water. So I don't live in the world of a one-trick pony. I also don't live in a world where I tell you what you have to do. It's about what fits with you. So then we're going to work this through. So at the end of the day, it's the same stuff you're doing with your agencies and freelancers, is figuring out what works for them, but in the context of understanding that they have to know their space, and they are talking not in a vacuum. They are messaging in a very congested, competitive environment, which requires them to stand out and have a message that's stronger than ever before. And so generalists won't win the game.
You're right. You're right. I have heard people say about, I don't have any competition. I think sometimes people genuinely believe they don't have any competition because they're thinking about the way they solve a particular issue. Like they might say, oh, I've got this e-commerce plugin that does this crazy cool way of whatever it might be. Therefore, we don't have any competition. But the truth is, like you were just saying, other people might be looking at, well, if I don't use that, what are the alternatives? And you're like, okay, yeah, maybe no one solves e-commerce the way you do, or nobody solves hosting membership site the way that you do. But if I didn't host my membership site with you, where would I host it? That's not with you.
I was talking to a guy the other day who runs a product that is pretty similar to what Cart66 did years ago, right?
Okay.
And if you recall, I discovered Cart66. I then asked you, does it do this or does it work like this? And you're like, oh, let me show you it does it this way. And I went, oh, great. And then I put it on a site. I tested it out. It worked. And then I went and created like 6 or 7 YouTube videos to walk people through how awesome this thing was. Because I'm like, this Cart66 is amazing. So that was a long time ago, right? I mean, like a long time ago. So now you got people who are stepping into the space and they're doing similar things. We'll just do a hosted cart. We won't do the rest of the site. But they don't know Cart66. They don't know any of the history. And so to them, they're doing something that has never been done before. And I go, well, it actually has. And in fact, let me ask you this, right? Do you work with anything other than Stripe? And they go, no. We just do Stripe. I go, well, okay. So just to be clear, you've narrowed your market, which is not bad, but let's just be clear. Like the only people who can use your product are people who can use Stripe. Well, yeah, because Stripe is the default. Stripe is the best. I'm like, well, I don't know, but 10 years ago, there was a player who did this and they had 56 different payment gateways. And they're like, no one's ever done this before. You go, okay. So number one, you believe that you're new because you don't know history. Number two, you believe you're new and innovative because you don't know who your competitors are today. And I started walking through like, well, today there's this company in Europe that does it this way. Oh, I didn't know about that. Right. So you don't know your history. You don't know all the competition because you're living in a very narrow world, right? And the third is you're defining your innovation by how you deliver it, which I don't care about. So if you say, well, we're the only player that does this with a JSON API call that does a REST API, and you're like, I'm sorry, did I say I cared? I don't care, right? I have a cart button, I push checkout, and then I pay, right? Like that's it. And you're like, yeah, but we're the only one that did. No, stop, right? And so we got in this conversation, and he said like, we're the only ones that do blah blah. I don't remember what it was, and I go, yeah, sorry, time out. But it had to do with ease of use. And I go, everybody and their brother says ease of use on a checkout. You can't take that corner. No, but it's way easier. No, you can't. I'm just telling you right now, you can't take that corner. Everybody and their brother says we're easy to use. Nobody says we're complicated to use. Nobody says we're super slow. You cannot use what is now table stakes as a differentiator. And they're like, no, but we are the only ones that do. I'm just like, I don't want to have this conversation anymore because you can't do ease of use as a differentiator when everybody considers ease of use table stakes. Hilariously, they write me down exactly what they do that nobody does, including Stripe. And I go, okay, well, hey, good luck. Hang up the call. They go their way. I go my way. 2 days later, Stripe announces that they're doing the very thing that this competitor had said Stripe doesn't do. So I just took the link of the URL, put it back in the Twitter DM and said, I don't know if you've seen this, right? Like it's a constant moving target. So how we do something is never going to be a differentiator. Why may be a differentiator, right? What may be a differentiator? Where may be a differentiator, okay? But how, it'll never be a differentiator because people don't care, right? And so you have to just take all your how and just throw it out the window. That is not the way we're going to make our claim, because how doesn't sell.
Or maybe do it like what you guys are doing at Liquid Web and replace how with who.
Yeah.
The people that want membership sites and e-commerce and online courses, that's a who replacement, which is really maybe even the best, because it really kind of solves like the bathroom problem that you were talking about. I want someone who wants this thing, and this is a specialty.
Yep.
Well, I'm really curious about one last topic. I know we've already been on the call for a long time. Let me see if I can jump one more area of content in here just real quick, which is one of the things, in fact, we were talking about it right in the very beginning. It seems like there's a lot of movement towards larger WordPress businesses acquiring like solopreneurs and smaller people. Like we were talking about Cadence, for example. You guys bought Cadence. Cadence is awesome theme. It's really seems like it's kind of groundbreaking in terms of using Gutenberg in a really efficient way for like full site editing. Plus, they've got some cool stuff with membership stuff. With the way you can log in, it shows a little icon and everything in the navigation, all kind of baked in.
Yep.
But it just seems like there's this trend towards if you're a solo guy or a small team, how are you supposed to compete and get leads and win clients when you're trying to compete against like the entire marketing budget of Liquid Web or GoDaddy or Elementor or Divi or like these huge businesses? But maybe you've got this great idea that really might solve some of the stuff we've been talking about, and you're just a guy. You're just like one person. What do you think about that trend towards either just everything just getting just like big corporate kind of WordPress businesses versus like the smaller people?
So I will tell you that it has nothing to do with Liquid Web. It has nothing to do with hosting. It has nothing to do with WordPress. There's always going to be large companies, and they have budget, and they can market and message and saturate a space. And there's always going to be the little guy. And the little guy doesn't have the same budget. Mm-hmm. But the little guy can do things that, quote, don't scale. And the big guy will never touch anything that doesn't scale because they can't get it out of the meeting. In the big company, they're sitting in a board meeting and someone says, how about we just start calling these customers and asking them blah, blah, blah. And they go, no, we can't do that. Like we'd have to have a call center. We'd have to staff up the call center. We'd have to train them on the call center to know how to ask the question. You're like, no, we can't do that. So then they go, oh, well, then we could outsource that. And you go, you know how much that's going to cost? And then because again, you know how many customers they have to call. And so immediately that whole idea just dies and they go back to, let's just send out an email, right? So big companies think in big systematic ways. And because they think in big systematic ways, those things have big costs. So therefore, several ideas will just get pulled off the table because it doesn't scale. Small guys are like, I only have 100 customers. If I call 10 customers a day, I'll be done in 10 days. Like I can totally do this. So small customers can do things that small companies can do things that large companies wouldn't even try and do. And that's the first thing to understand is I have to pick the strategies that I can do that my competitor won't even go near. Because if I say to you, hey, I just wanted to call you. I saw that you bought the product. I saw that, or hey, we just delivered the service, right? So imagine that you're talking to an agency. It's a 1-2 person shop. They just finished building the website. They built it. They wait 3 weeks and they call back and they go, hey, we just wanted to check and see how it's going. We wanted to see if there were results. We wanted to see if you got what you thought you were going to get out of the ROI for this project. And they're like, oh my God, you're the first people to ever call me back. I mean, most people, they get the last payment and they're gone. We're like, no, we just want to check in. And they go, and are you getting the ROI? Well, actually, we're not. It's weird, but this form is not getting the same results we used to. Oh my gosh, why didn't you tell us? Can we just jump in and take a look? Can I get my developer to come in? And all of a sudden you're getting in there and doing stuff and then you fix it. And of course, everything goes up into the right. And they're like, oh my God, like you weren't even under contract. We were done. You delivered everything and you came back and you made an adjustment. And there's no large agency who does that because they're like, oh, my whole team would be busy calling old customers and doing free work. We can't do it. And now you have the case study, right? Now you have the testimonial. Now you have something that differentiates you from the big guys. I worked with a company that said, our claim to fame is that we do a quality assurance check within 24 hours of the work that we've done. And if it doesn't work right, we will send people at our own cost to go fix whatever has to happen. And they had done it for like 15, 20 years on a national level, right? And you're like, that's a level of QA that's just different than everybody else. And they go, yeah, that's our thing. Like we just have this one thing that we do different than everybody else. I talked to another company who said, our goal is to make sure that we can start a project, whatever kind of project this was. We want to start a project within 48 hours. So think of all the supply side they have to have so that anyone in the country calls at any point and they can go, well, okay, today's Monday. We can start on Wednesday. Whereas you call someone else and they're like, yeah, like we could free up in 6 weeks, right? Again, it's to that one differentiator that says people care about time and speed more than just about anything else, right? So you can do things as a small organization that other people can't. And you need to double down on that and differentiate on that rather than trying to fight against your competitor on your competitor's playing field. You have to understand the competitor plays on that playing field because they get all the benefits. You need to play on your own playing field. And when you play on your playing field, it's a different ballgame, right? If you're playing 3-on-3 basketball on a half court, then you don't need players that can run from the other side of the court all the way to you don't need that, right? You also likely, if your 3-on-3 basketball doesn't have a 3-point line, you don't need 3-point shooters. So you focus on the thing that changes the game for you at your space. And if that is QA calls, or that is time to, project start, or if that is budget, or if that is how many people get on the project, whatever it is that other people can't do, change the playing field and then win, right? Instead of saying, oh, I got to be like those guys and they're doing Facebook ads, so I got to do Facebook ads. They're doing TV ads, I got to do TV ads. They're doing billboard ads, I got to do billboard ads. Stop playing their game. Their game is situated for them. Play your game.
Yes, that's so. It's. I think it's that, and on top of that, stop saying their words, stop playing their game. Get your own playing field. So, like, if you look out there at like Wix or something like that, and you're a web designer, and you're thinking, well, how in the world could I have my portfolio be as big as their template library? And how in the world could I, like what you were just saying about customer service and support and ROI? It's like Wix doesn't say anything about that stuff. So, like, stop saying their words. Come up with a solution that's for a particular type of clientele that doesn't want to just have a cheap Wix website, that they actually need more clients and more calls. And they need to be concerned about some of the stuff like the legal ramifications of online courses or CBD products or payment gateways and stuff, and that the depth of your expertise can come in. And so then you've got two things. You've got your own court, you've got your own words, you've got your own solution. And
I'll tell you, if you're competing, just a free tip, if you're competing with Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, where the templates are killing you, here's the one thing you need to do. Go find 10 companies, 10 websites that are using the same single template. Okay, go find them. It's homework. It's work you got to do. But trust me, it will be the best work you've ever done. We do stuff with e-commerce. We do stuff with WooCommerce stores over at nexus.net. And one of the videos I created was I literally walked you through 10 Shopify stores. They were all using the exact same template. And I showed people, here's what this website looks. And I show you all the things that are cool about this website. And everyone's like, yeah, why are you showing me how cool Shopify is? And I go, now let's look at the next tab, right? And suddenly the logo changes and the 3 products change and it's all the same website. And then I do it a 3rd time and a 4th time and a 5th time and a 6th time and a 7th time and an 8th time and a 9th time. And finally, by the 10th time, they're like, oh my God, are you serious? I don't want my website to look like everybody else's website. I go, that's my point. Template sites aren't serving you. They're serving the platform. because the platform no longer has to do any design. When you go say, I'll go sign up with them and use that platform, you have no idea how many other people have used it. And you don't even have an idea how many people have used it in your space. And once I show you that, everybody backs up and goes, oh, I don't want a template-based website. You go, ding, ding, ding. We made it. So do the homework. It takes some work, but when you find it and you have those 10 that are all doing what you do and they all look identical, and you go, is this what you want? And they go, oh no, I don't want that at all. Okay, now let's just take that entire approach off the table. Yes, if you want $69 worth of web design, you can get $69 worth of web design. You're going to get what you pay for. Now, if you want something different that'll drive results, that's where I come in, right? And if you do that well, there's no way you don't win against those players, because the templates aren't helping customers. They're helping the platform player. That's what they're there for.
That's awesome. In fact, I was about to ask you, hey, give me like one takeaway. Give me one thing I can do. You beat me to it. It's like, here's one thing you can do. That's perfect. Well, awesome, Chris. Well, thank you for being so gracious. This has gone longer than normal. Do you want to give people some ways to get in touch with you, or just where they can find your stuff?
Sure.
I know you're writing every day.
Yep.
I'll put these links down below too.
You can find me on Twitter at Chris Lema. You can find me on YouTube at Mr. Chris Lema, and you can find me at my blog at chrislema.com. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me.